Welcome to the Thriving Farmer Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Kilpatrick. Our mission is to inspire, educate, and celebrate sustainable farming. We believe that you can build a profitable, sustainable farm that gives you true farm freedom. Join us as we talk to farmers, innovators, educators, and entrepreneurs to glean their top takeaways in business and life. Hey, Thriving Farmers, Michael Kilpatrick here with yet another episode of the Thriving Farmer Podcast. And today my guest is Margie Paskert, who is a market gardener, and she also sells a lot of online plants. So she started in northern Idaho 25 years ago, doing mixed veggies and a few plant starts. Then she moved to rural Missouri in 2006 and tried to do the same thing, but the business model did not work there. So she switched to online sales of plants only, and her business has grown steadily since then. And then about 3.5 years ago, she moved back to Colorado because the beauty of this business type is it's very location independent because you can grow transplants anywhere easily. Welcome to the podcast, Margie.
Hi, thank you.
So, I kind of tried to say it there in the intro, but tell us your business model. How does that work?
I just have greenhouses. I grow plants. I sell them online and I ship them.
Okay. So that's a very interesting. So I know you do a little bit of like local to like some local people, but you literally box up plants in little cardboard boxes and you ship them. Is it nationwide?
Yeah, everywhere but Alaska and Hawaii. Although we've shipped to Alaska, but
okay,
Hawaii doesn't let us. But yeah, all the other states.
Okay, and then how do people find you online? Because obviously that's the thing people are going to be wondering.
Well, you know what? I've been on Etsy for years, and I'm so high in their search engine now. I do no marketing. Etsy does it all for me.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, and we'll get into the marketing at the further in, and we'll talk a little bit more about at the beginning. But let's talk a little bit though about like your start into farming, because you've been farming for a while.
Yeah, 25 years. I started out with the mixed veggie, acre or two.
Mm-hmm.
Thought I'd always do that, and I loved it, and it worked well in northern Idaho. But every year I sold more and more plant starts, and those were good money early in the season. Really helped me get going, and they became more and more of my income every year. People love buying plants in the spring. And so when my veggie operation didn't work in Missouri because folks just don't have the money to pay enough to make it worth my while to grow the veggies, I just started selling the plants online, and it worked out beautifully. And so I stopped doing the vegetables for sale because I was making so much money on the plants and they kept me so busy.
Yeah. Now talk us through a little bit of what is the season for plants, because obviously it's a very concentrated season typically.
It is. I ship all over the country. So I ship to Florida, California, the Gulf Coast, and they would like to get their plants in February, but I'm in Colorado, so I'm not going to ship in February, and I'm not going to spend the money on the heat and the lights to grow shippable plants that early in the season. So I start shipping mid to late March.
Okay.
And, I ship every week for 10 to 11 weeks, depending on the season. And first I'll be shipping to the warm states, the Gulf Coast, Florida and such. And as the season progresses, I ship further and further north. And people can choose what week they want me to ship their plants, or I'll choose based on their last frost date.
Gotcha. And then how do people let you know all that through Etsy? Do they have a little form that they can fill out as they're buying their plants?
Yeah, now I tried a new thing last year where they choose their plant by week. And it's a little tricky. Etsy is not really designed for online plant sellers. So It's always, it's tricky figuring out how to make it work. And so I'm still working on that model, but it has helped. A lot of people realize, they need to order all the plants within the same week. So they do, but some people don't realize that. So if they order plants from different weeks, then I'll look and see where they are and when they want most of their plants shipped, and I'll decide when to, but I send them an email telling them when it's scheduled and giving them the opportunity to say, oh no, I don't want them that week. I want them a different week.
Gotcha. So that means a lot of behind the scenes work for you then with the customer service side. Tell us about your team. How big of a team do you have?
Last year, 12 people working for me. Not all full time, but the thing about shipping plants is it's really labor intensive getting them the orders pulled and packaged and shipped. But we shipped about 45,000 plants last year over 11 weeks. So That's a lot of plants to box up and ship. So yes, 12 team members. That includes transplanters, seed starters, waterers, plus all the people involved with shipping.
So break down your process a little bit for us, because obviously, a lot of us do raise transplants, but you're producing a transplant to sell. So I'm sure there's some very
Yeah.
specific things that you are thinking about as you go about that.
Well, the first thing was deciding on the size of pot to use because you're shipping, you want it the most economical size pot, but you still want a good transplant. So I use 2.5 inch wide by 3.5 inch deep pots. And that makes a good size transplant. But, if I was doing 4-inch pots, it would cost so much to ship. It would be ridiculous. So that's the standard size that most people use to ship plants. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just getting over COVID. What was the question again?
That's totally fine. Yes, so many of us are, and it's really interesting how much that affects our brain.
Oh goodness, yes.
I don't think anyone realized that it just slows us down for about a month.
Oh, a month? A month? Oh no, I'm only on day 12.
No, I think it's not that bad. But so the particulars you're looking for as you are getting ready to ship, think about producing a shippable plant. You mentioned like obviously the container a little bit, but talk to us like, size of plant, soil, what kind of stuff are you working on there?
Well, the soil to ship, I have to be Japanese beetle-free certified, so I can't use any compost. I use ProMix Organic with my Corza, and that has worked very well for me. If I was using any compost or local soil or such, I couldn't ship to California because I couldn't be certified beetle-free. So you just use that as the easiest. The size of the plant, well, I ship for 11 weeks. So I actually start seeds for 11 weeks because they have to be just the right size to ship. I don't want the root so small that the plant's going to fall out of the pot. It has to have a good root ball. But if it's too tall, it won't fit in the box or it'll be root bound. So I start seeds every week for 11 weeks, however many weeks ahead of time that plant needs to grow to shippable size. After 13 years of doing it, I pretty much have it down.
Yeah, tomato is like a 5-week-old transplant. That's your shippable size?
It is for the later in the season, but earlier in the season, they grow slower. The sun isn't as strong, and so they need more weeks. As the season progresses, things need fewer weeks. So what takes, 8 weeks if you start it in January, it only takes 5 weeks if you start it in April.
Exactly. Okay, so then another question is, what is the range of things that you produce for shipping?
I've got over 70 varieties of tomato plants, over 60 varieties of sweet, hot, and super hot peppers, lots of different herbs. Eggplant, I don't even know. I can't just even say it off the top of my head. Tomatillos and all kinds of funky, it's all just veggies and herbs, basically.
Yeah.
Mostly the ones that can be started from seed. I do some herbs where I purchase plugs, ones that, have to be propagated. But mostly it's all seed.
Okay, but everything leaves your farm in a 2.5-inch pot.
Yes, it's just for shipping, it's the easiest way to do it. Just standardized size. I have standard boxes. I have standard cardboard sleeves that they go in.
Yeah.
Same. So I don't actually sell any greens or broccoli or cauliflower or that kind of thing, just mainly because for one thing, they need to be shipped earlier than tomatoes. So it would involve 2 shipments to each customer. And there's no way to set that up on Etsy. But also, one cauliflower plant in a 2.5-inch pot, I charge over $7 per plant. So
yes,
pay that for one cauliflower plant.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, other sellers, they'll have different size boxes and they'll have 4 packs of cauliflower and such, but I just haven't even bothered. I'm so busy doing what I'm doing. I don't bother with the cool season things.
Yeah. Now let's talk about pest management in the greenhouse. What is your, do you use like a beneficial insect, like a schedule or?
No, I honestly have learned over the years. I do grow organically, although I'm not certified. And I got to tell you, last year, I never once had to spray anything. So much of pests can be related to improper management. And over the years, I've learned what inspires pests to show up. Also, a lot of, I'm shipping so early in the year that some of the pests haven't even shown up yet. But I have in the past had problems with aphids. I get aphids when I over fertilize. They love a super lush, tender little leaf. I don't want to grow that kind of plant. They look great, but they don't ship well. I want a nice, tough plant that's going to, withstand the rigors of shipping and transplant well for people. And so actually it works in my best interest to stay low on the fertilizer and low on the water and produce a scrappy, tough plant. And when I do that, I don't get aphids. I've never even had white flies, but see, I only use my greenhouse until May, and then until the end of May, and then I shut it down, and I let it solarize, and that makes a difference too.
Yeah. So you're then heat cooking it after that for the next,
Yeah.
is that next 9 months?
Well, I start in
Well, or
February.
maybe it's
February through May. I have things in my greenhouse, but also Colorado is kind of a low pest environment. In Missouri, I had more pests. I'd have caterpillars, and that's easy. That's BT or
yeah.
I had flea beetles badly in Missouri, and those were the bane of my existence.
Yeah. But I'm interested that they actually came in the greenhouse, or is it?
Oh, sure they did.
Yeah.
In some parts of the country, like in the colder areas, the flea beetles seem to go for the brassicas, which I don't ship any brassicas, so that's not an issue. But the flea beetles we had in Missouri were into eggplant and tomatillos and ground cherries, and I ship a lot of tomatillos, so those were really tough. But I found a product. It's a diatomaceous earth with a little copper in it, and I would just get it all over the plants with a what do you call it, where it creates a duster.
Yeah.
And that would keep them off.
So diatomaceous with copper. That's interesting. I haven't heard of that before.
Yeah, it's a really great product. And I mean, if I had disease issues, it probably would have helped with that, but I've never had disease issues too. And that's another cultural thing.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't grow them real tender and you don't keep them really warm and you don't overwater, you're going to right there get rid of most of your pest issues.
Yeah. Okay. So do you do cucumbers?
I do.
Okay. So is that like a 2-week crop cycle then?
No, those are closer to 5 earlier in the year and 4 later in the year.
Okay. So you're growing a little bit bigger.
Squash is a 3-week crop cycle. That's the fastest, the squashes.
Yeah. All right. So then, so you grow it, and then I'm assuming we just said is you're keeping the water low, so you're making a really tough, hardy plant.
Yeah.
And then the orders come in, and the first day of the, like Monday, are you pulling all those and lining it up and seeing how many of anything you need to pull for your inventory?
No, we pull plants on Thursdays and Fridays, and I have a 20 by 30 greenhouse with full shelving just for all the plants that we're going to pull. So we move all the plants we need for the week into that greenhouse on Thursday, and we start pulling orders.
Okay.
And we pull orders all day Friday and part of the day Saturday. And then Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, I have a full crew working on boxing and shipping the plants.
Okay.
And that's just a weekly cycle. I want to ship them out. I want to ship the plants out on Monday and Tuesday so they get to where they're going before the weekend. I don't want them in the box over the weekend. So we don't ship any later than Tuesday.
Gotcha. Oh, wow. So Sunday, Monday. Wow. You're cranking through them then. Yeah.
Oh boy, are we.
Yeah. And so then is it UPS? Is it FedEx?
You know, I got to say, I used Party Mail for years and it was fine until COVID. And then it was no longer fine. It was just taking too long. So I switched to UPS last year, and I even had some problems with them because of COVID. Everything is just slower. Yes. So I had to, this year, if I was doing it this year, I would pay for more expensive shipping and just charge the customers. They would pay it. They'd expect it this year. But the shipping that I did last year, 3-day shipping, was taking up to 4 and 5 days, and that's too long.
Yeah.
So I would ship the 2-day max this year and just pay more and charge the customer for it.
Yeah. Now it's interesting because, like, you're selling on Etsy, you also have a website. What percentage came through Etsy versus your website?
Percentage. Let's see if you can convert this in your head really quick, because I never figured out percentage. I did about 275,000 on Etsy last year and about 50 to 60,000 on my own website. I've never advertised my website. It's just overflow. People that have found me on Etsy over the years then find my own website. And I finally got a custom website last year, which is helping tremendously with the inventory. But, it's integrated now with Etsy, and it's a beautiful thing.
Interesting. So is that like a WooCommerce, or what's the actual?
No, I'm not sure what the platform is actually. I pay a webmaster. It's just the volume I'm at, I need it. I need to be able to control my inventory, because with plants, you can't just go out and buy more plants if you need to ship more. They take a while to grow.
Yes.
So you have to really stay on top of your inventory. And since I start selling January 1st all the way through the end of May, and I ship for 11 weeks, inventory gets just ridiculously complicated. And so I don't know. There is, I could find out if someone wants to know, but the webmaster I used found a program that integrates websites with Etsy. So when they order on Etsy, it comes out of the same inventory. as on my website. So I can control the inventory.
Yeah.
Before I couldn't, I'd have one inventory on my website, one on Etsy. And if someone ordered 20 of something on Etsy, it wouldn't come out of my website and somebody else might order on my website.
Yes.
But now it's integrated and it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. So you're actually using WooCommerce over there, which is, it's a great, basically it works right with WordPress. So it's a fabulous, product. But yeah, again, I just kind of popped into went back to the code and looked at that.
Oh, okay.
I'm not in the back end of your website. Just so you know. I got to the point where, I learned enough web coding in my youth that I can, read a page code. I can't, if I touch anything, I break it, but I can at least read it.
Well, I'm not there. And I'm at this point, for the first 12 years of the business, I did a little template type website. And I outgrew that years before I finally decided to pay someone to make me a website. And I tell you what, at the volume I'm at, it's so worth it to have someone who knows what they're doing. Yes. And if I have a problem, I just call him or I email him and say, hey, can you do this? And he just takes care of it.
Yes.
And it's just taken so many headaches away from me. It's amazing.
Yeah. So Colorado, you like living there. Are there anything particular that, works better for the business growing there other than pests?
Well, the challenges are, of course, it's colder at night. I'm in the high desert. And so I do go through a whole lot more propane, but it's very sunny here. And so with greenhouses, that's just beautiful. The plants actually grow faster here than they did in a warmer climate because I just have so much sun and I'm a mile closer to the sun. The sun is stronger. So actually the plants grow beautifully here as long as I can heat the greenhouses at night. But the heat is super important here. I didn't even have heat in my greenhouse in Missouri. I just used row covers, which was cumbersome, but it worked. But here I have to have the heat. But I love living here also because here there's actually a local demand for my plants too. So I do sell locally also. There wasn't in Missouri. People didn't care about all the really cool organic varieties of vegetables. They just wanted, a cheap red tomato and a bell pepper. It's all they wanted. But where I live in Colorado, people are, into all the funky varieties I sell and I love to sell. And they have more money so they can pay more for the product. And so I actually do have a local business now.
Yeah, because do you do that on farm or do you do farmers markets? How does that work?
No, I don't have time for that in the spring. What I actually do, when my plants outgrow the boxes, I throw them away. I throw away thousands and thousands of plants every year, and it's hard. So what I do is I actually have a couple of retail outlets that buy my leftovers from me. They don't actually get to choose what they get. I just every 2 weeks, I take in a selection of things that I don't want to throw away, and they sell those. The trick is, though, I don't charge them for every plant because they don't get to choose. So I sell on consignment. They only pay for what actually sells. And so they're happy, and I'm happy because, if I make an extra $10,000 selling plants locally, that's $10,000 that would have been thrown away. I was going to throw those plants away because I couldn't ship them anymore. And so it's actually $10,000 straight in my pocket, which is a nice trip to Hawaii or something. And then also because people, once they know you're local, they want to come to the greenhouse and shop, but oh man, I don't have time for that. I'm sure most farmers can understand that. We don't have time, just to
stand there and talk.
Spend 45 minutes to buy $10 worth of product. And so now I can tell people, hey, go to Ace Hardware in Delta or go to Straw Hat down in Montrose, and my plants are there. And so that, it gives a local focus where people can buy my plants. And then at the end of the season too, I do a greenhouse closeout sale. When I'm done shipping, I open up my greenhouse for 2 days and locals can come in and buy them really cheap. And this is generally the last weekend in May or the first weekend in June. So it's the end of my season and all the plants would get thrown out. And so whatever I do with that sale is just money ahead for me. And the locals love it. And it's gotten really popular. And I can make $10,000 in 2 days. And once again, that's money I would have thrown away.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of your bonus money at the end of the year.
Yeah, it really is.
Let's talk about team, because obviously with your system, you have to scale up really quickly and then you have your team and then it's like done. So first, how do you find people that are willing to work that schedule?
I actually hire like moms who just want to make a little extra money and love working in the greenhouse, but don't have to work. I hire some retired folks that just want a little extra money to spend. Basically, those are my team members. They're people that, a lot of them need the money, but they don't want to work full-time year round, or for some reason they can't. But they love the business and they love working here. And so it works for them.
So you just built a system in place that attracts the right type of people now.
Yeah. And my employees come back year after year. I love them. They love me. For me, my team makes this business. I couldn't do it without them. I treat them well. I pay them well. They can take all the plants home that they want.
Yeah.
And they do.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a team. We have a team attitude here. They care about my business. I care about them.
Okay. So then, you've got them on board, and I'm assuming that it kind of slowly ramps up in the start of the year with, you're just seeding and maybe potting up.
Yeah.
But then obviously once you start shipping, that's when it gets crazy.
Really crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. And then where's the breakup? Do you have like some management that are doing different tasks, or do you kind of just all float?
Well, no, people have specific tasks, and it's what they've gravitated to over years that they're good at, basically. I did last year hire an office manager for the first time. I had been doing it all myself. It was overwhelming, and I never got to be in the greenhouse anymore, which is why I do this business, right? How many of you out there that have made a success of your farms now never get your hands on the dirt? You're just managing. And so I actually promoted one of my employees, who was, I think, her third or maybe fourth year working for me, to office manager. And that really freed up a lot of my time to manage the other parts of the business. I would have hired a greenhouse manager if I could have found someone who wanted to do it, who I thought was capable, but I never got that last year. So I never ended up hiring a greenhouse manager, but that is something I would do.
Yeah. Well, I think with that specific role, you tend to then be pulling from, commercial hort, and that is pretty well paid jobs. And they're typically year round.
Yeah.
Like right close to us, we have stock sliggers, which is, I don't know, gosh, they gotta be 2 acres of glass, or maybe more than that. They do 5 acres of mums. I know that.
Wow.
I was up there and they said, this is our 5 acre mum field. Get your order in August. And I was like, okay.
Wow.
So, but yeah, they are, it's quite extensive there, but yeah, it's a year round thing. Cause they were telling me, okay, this happens this month. Like I was there in December picking up some poinsettias, and they had the entire line set up and they were cranking. They says, we'll be doing this for the next, he said, we're started now, but we don't stop until June. Every single day they have, those 8 or 10 core people working. So
I would never want to be that big.
Yeah. Well, it's a thing. Yeah. It's big.
For someone who wants that, that's great. But I got to say, I don't necessarily believe bigger is better. And my business has gotten bigger than I want it to be.
Yeah. Well, you're right. And if you think about that business right there, they've been in the 3 generations. So this is the 3rd generation running it now.
Yeah.
And you're right. Do you want that aspect of things?
Yeah.
Do you want it to be that big? So talk to us a little bit, because you do mention you feel like your business has gotten bigger than you want it to be. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I never wanted to have 12 employees and be a manager. I wanted to, I never actually imagined it happening like this, but it has grown so fast that that's the role I've been thrust into. And my issue every year is just trying to stay on top of the growth, because the growth has been tremendous. And I try to think ahead, and you've put in new systems, you have to build more greenhouses, you have to change the way you run the packing line, blah, blah, blah. Every year it's upgrades. And it just gets to a point where you're spending any more profit you might make on upgrades for the next year. So
yes.
I don't actually make any more money than I did 4 years ago, but I'm shipping twice as many plants. Because I have to reinvest so much money every year to stay on top of the growth, and I have to hire more people. And I look back at 4 years ago and I think I'd like to go back to that level, but it's a runaway freight train,
Yeah. So how many square feet of greenhouse do you have then?
Not a whole lot. Let's see. Oh gosh, at the top of my head, it's less than, hold on, 21. It's less than 6,000. It's right around 6,000. The thing about this business model that's a little different than a retail is that I'm shipping for 11 weeks and I have product leaving every week for 11 weeks. So I'm constantly rotating. So I'm freeing up a lot of space every week.
Yeah.
So I produce as much in my 6,000 feet as most people would producing in at least 12,000 feet or more.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
they're a smaller plant too.
Yeah, they're all in that small pot. So I can fit a lot of plants in a greenhouse.
Yeah. Now, what would you say your number one selling tomato is?
That changes every year.
Oh,
But
interesting.
yeah. But it's been probably San Marzano for a long time. Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, have you ever seen a San Marzano tomato plant for sale in a retail outlet? No, they all have aroma.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we sell a San Marzano because it is popular and we love it.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, Lowe's doesn't have that. They have those Romas.
And everyone sells Romas, but San Marzanos are amazing. So that has been my top. And when people buy San Marzanos, because they're canning, so they buy multiples. And that's another reason why it's the best seller. Because they don't buy just one, they buy 6, they buy 12, so the numbers add up fast. But a few years ago, what my most popular was Brad's Atomic Grape novelty.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's the novelty of a really gorgeous tomato. And then, I buy actually quite a few seeds from Baker Creek, and I used to actually sell plants at their spring planting festival when I lived in Missouri.
Oh,
and they've got a great thing. Yeah. They've got a great thing going there, and they do fantastic marketing. And I sell quite a few of their varieties because not only are they fun, but people know them by name because they have seen their marketing.
Yeah, they recently did they sent me an email and they said 24 hours and 100% goes to some nonprofit. And I was like,
yeah, they do that.
Okay. Yeah. And I was like, so I jumped in, I spent, $50-$60. Cause again, I'm like, it was fun stuff. I mean, it was some crazy colors and stuff. Yep. Now I will say the varieties are not cheap.
No. And for a commercial grower, they're pretty expensive, but I just figured that into the price of the plant.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. You just charge more for it.
People are willing to pay more for their super cool stuff. Yeah. They really are.
Now it's interesting because you said something at the beginning that I want to bring back up is you said you charge what, $7 a plant?
It ends up being $7.32 for my base plant. That's the cheapest, but that includes shipping.
Yeah.
So, it's really only about $4 for a plant, $3 for shipping is about how it breaks down.
Gotcha. But that's interesting because like when we sell plants, people were, again, we're in very small town America here. Right. They're like $1 for a plant or like your tomatoes are $2.99. And I'm yeah.
Yeah, Michael, why do you think I started selling online to people in Connecticut and California?
Yes, exactly. Yes. I just don't have the
sitting in there. My busiest day of the week is Mondays. People go back to work and they're sitting in their offices and they're dreaming about the weekend and they're ordering plants to arrive on Friday so they can plant them on Saturday. I mean, Monday, I get slammed with orders on Mondays.
Yeah.
Because they're so busy. They don't have time to go out shopping and they're willing to pay more to get what they want when they want it and delivered right to their doorstep.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, absolutely. All right. So you talked about, being more than you want, and you had the business. Did you still have the business for sale?
I do. I'm not trying really hard to sell it, but I'm not actually shipping plants this week because I've got a new great thing going.
Oh, very cool.
I'm not shipping this year. I'm putting the shipping on hold. It was honestly several reasons. One, it was just growing so fast. I just couldn't stay on top of it. I put up 2 new greenhouses last year and it wasn't enough.
Wow.
I would have, and I'm putting the brakes on basically. Can you imagine that being successful? But it's true. Sometimes you can be too successful. But also I really got a really great local opportunity. An employee of mine actually bought an old garden center that had been shut for some years and she's reopening it. And she asked me to run the nursery. Okay. And so I'm having a great time with that. It's going to be all local sales and I'm going to be selling everything, not just vegetables and herbs. And I'm having a fantastic time getting this nursery going.
Yeah. Well, it also sounds like that you're very similar to me where you love to like set systems up and build things. And then it's like, okay.
And I get bored. You get bored.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. I have a new idea a week and my wife, yeah.
I got to say, I last about 10 years and then I'm ready for something new.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in that 10 years, I'm constantly changing and trying new things and seeing what works, dropping the things that don't, adding new things. I'm always tweaking.
Yeah.
But then after a while, I just, I've done it. I'm at the peak. This is great. Now what can I do? And that's me completely. And this is a great business and people think I'm nuts for just sort of walking away from it, but I'm just ready for something new.
Yeah. Yeah. And the garden center is something that it's all brand new. You're starting from scratch. You're
Yes.
building it up from the ground.
Mhm.
And it sounds like you have a great relationship with your customer.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a lot of fun for you.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It already is. It's great.
Yeah. That's very
And
cool.
another thing too about selling face to face is you actually get to meet the customers. Online selling is really great because you can reach so many customers, but you never actually see them face to face. It's all through emails.
Yeah.
And I never meet most of my customers. I've had people that have ordered plants from me every year for 13 years, and I don't even know what they look like.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. You just see that name come through and you're like, oh, yep,
Oh yeah,
there's their order. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm looking
So
forward to
let's
that.
put it this way. If there was like a magic reset button so you could go back and start the farm all over again, would you make any major changes from the start?
Oh, I've learned so many things. I would have had a custom website a lot sooner, for sure. I don't, you know what? I'm not a very backward looking person, but I would have, if I could
The
restart.
website. Yeah. Now, what percentage?
Custom website, I would have done more marketing for myself rather than just rely on Etsy. I actually first started with localharvest.org before I got on Etsy, and they made my business. Yeah, they made my business. They really did. They do all the advertising for you. They just send you the order, you fulfill it, they keep a percentage, and it was a beautiful thing. I didn't have to mess with marketing. Marketing is not my strong point.
Yeah.
But Local Harvest kind of stalled out. And so I looked around and found Etsy and thought, well, I'll try Etsy. And I tell you what, Etsy has made my business completely.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'd do without them. But Local Harvest then stopped selling online. So I'm so glad I found Etsy when I did and built that up before Local Harvest quit. But I learned a lesson last year, and this is really important. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Etsy's great, but it's a huge company and they have certain parameters within which you need to work. And if you don't fit their parameters, they can just shut you right down. They did that to me last year in the spring. They shut me down. One of my busiest weeks of the year, they just turned my store off.
So let's talk about that, because that's incredibly scary.
I about had a heart attack.
Yeah.
Because they decided that I had too many outstanding orders. I had too much money outstanding, things I hadn't shipped. And so they just shut me down, wouldn't let me take any more orders. But
you were like, you're like, I've got weeks. These are scheduled for specific weeks.
These aren't even scheduled to ship in May, and this is March. Of course they're outside. And I'd been on Etsy for 10 years, and it had always been that way. But someone last year just decided, oh, this isn't good, and they shut me down. Wow. But, and it's not easy to talk to a human on Etsy, but I did eventually get through, and they changed their mind and reopened me after about 5 days. But those were about the most miserable 5 days of my life. And in that time, I decided, okay, next year I'm expanding. I can't just rely on Etsy. And that's a very important lesson for anyone selling online. Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yes. Yeah. And with that, let's stop here and take a quick break. In a minute, we'll be back with Margie. Where are you on your thriving farmer journey? If you go to growingfarmers.com, you can click on our assessment, take our assessment, just a few questions, and what it will do is show you exactly where you are on the 5-stage thriving farmer journey. And what this will do then is give you some next steps, some resources that help you know what to focus on next in your business to move you to the next level with your farm. And we're back. So Margie, talk to us a little bit about, you mentioned a little bit there about the marketing side, how, Etsy kind of turns you off. What other avenues are you thinking about that maybe you need to start moving into to kind of keep selling that volume you want?
I decided last year that, I'm going to stick with Etsy for sure. They're amazing. Once you've been selling on Etsy as long as I have, I've got over, I don't know how many sales I have on there, and I've got a 5-star rating. So I've got over 4,000 5-star ratings. And so once you reach that level, you're at the top of their search, Yes. So if you search for any, like the varieties tomatoes I carry, boom, you're going to see my listing on Etsy. It's going to come up first. So they're incredible. They get you out there. But, I've already told you about the downfall of selling on Etsy. What's difficult about it. So I think, actually, and this whole starting over thing, I would work more with somebody who knows how to market, and I would market my own website better. I would invest the money and the time, because Etsy charges, Etsy, when I first started selling on Etsy 11 years ago, they were keeping 4 to 5% of each sale.
Okay.
That's very reasonable.
That's very reasonable.
They're up to over 14% now.
Wow.
They keep taking more and more and more and more. And it's still worth it to me, because if you're figuring 15% on marketing, that's okay.
Yes.
Especially since I just don't have to mess with it and I get a ton of sales through them. But looking back, if I had invested in my own website and hired a marketing person to market, I wouldn't need Etsy. I'd be,
Yes. Well, and you could probably
my own website going.
So with that though, too, I mean, if you had your own website and your own email list, you could be pushing sales earlier in the year so that you kind of like grow to order instead of like grow as orders come in.
Yeah. And I did actually have an email list for a couple of years, and I did send out newsletters because I was trying to promote my own website. Yeah. And that actually was really cool. But then I just got too busy, and I stopped doing it several years ago because the business is growing so fast now just because Etsy is such a powerhouse. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about, so then with that, so like descriptions, when you're putting them online, are you doing long form descriptions about the whole variety, or are you just using more of a picture to sell it?
No, I write descriptions. I wrote all the descriptions that are on my website and on Etsy. I've taken almost all the pictures. I've borrowed some pictures, and I've written all the descriptions.
Yeah. And because I'm looking here, like, let's say Amish paste organic heirloom on your website right now. Yeah. Well, that's great description. Then obviously you have the within 24 hours of receiving your order, we will email you that kind of stuff that you just standardly put with every single.
Yeah. That's on every listing.
Yeah.
The basic information.
Yeah. Very cool. All right. So let's talk a little bit about, your advice to new farmers. You've obviously been farming for a while now.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone who's like, just starting out, wanting to get their first year started? What would you say to them?
The advice I didn't follow is don't do too much right away. Just, just do a few things and do them really well, and remain flexible. Try new things every year. Keep the things that work, get rid of the things that don't. And that is so important. If you go into it with an idea of you're only going to do one thing, if that one thing doesn't work, you're not going to have a successful business. So for me, I tried multiple different things, and I kept the things that worked. And I just kept, every year I would try new things, new varieties, new ways of selling them, whatever. Before I got online, I was constantly tweaking that way. I had a little CSA for a while. I sold at farmers markets. And be careful with the advice people give you. You got to love it. You got to do what you love. I know when I started selling the vegetables in my first year in Idaho at the farmers market, I brought a few extra plants to sell, and all the other sellers there at the meeting we'd had before the market started, they said, "Oh, we have enough plant starts. We don't need any more plant starts." And people here, they don't want all your funky varieties. They just want a red tomato and a white potato, but I wasn't terribly dissuaded. I thought, well, I'll just give it a try. And oh my goodness, people loved my funky varieties.
Yeah.
And my plants sold like crazy. And so, be careful when you take advice from other people. Try what you love.
Yeah.
And see if it works. But like I said, constantly try new things and get rid of what doesn't. Constantly tweak. Don't just decide I'm just going to sell tomatoes, and just don't be rigid.
Yeah. Yeah. What encouragement would you go back and give your new farmer self?
Stick with it.
Okay.
Don't give up your day job, but stick with it.
Yes. Yeah. What would be your favorite farming tool?
Oh, for which kind of farming? See, I've done I didn't even tell you that last year I grew cut flowers. My business is over at the end of May.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I get bored and I want to keep doing stuff. So last year I just planted flowers and I sold bouquets, and I loved it. Oh my gosh, that was so fun.
Yeah.
But I'm very small time now. I don't do a lot of growing in the ground anymore. So I'm not sure that I have a favorite tool because
well, what's a favorite tool in your transplant business? So do you mechanically seed? Do you hand seed?
No, I don't. I hand seed. The mechanical doesn't work for me because I'm starting seeds every week, and I might start 30 of one variety, 20 of another, 12 of another. because it's specific to the week. I keep meticulous records. I know every plant I've sold every week for the last 13 years. And when I'm planning my seed starting schedule, I'd look at what sold what weeks for the last 2 years, and I base how many seeds I start on that. So sometimes it's small amounts. So yeah, it's interesting. Like early in the year, some varieties sell better, the varieties that do well in the heat. Yeah. Later in the year, the short season varieties sell better. So it changes week by week.
Interesting.
So that's fascinating too. Yeah, I hand seed because I never do a full tray of any one thing. They're all mixed up.
And then you have a tagger, tag printer.
There you go. My tag printer. Yes. Might be my favorite tool.
Yes. Yeah. You sent me and actually that's really interesting because didn't you do a post in the Market Garden Success group and people were literally filleting you because, oh my gosh, you're using plastic tags. That's the worst thing in the world.
Yeah. Well, it's, I tried the wooden ones and I'm sorry, the names don't stay on there. They fade.
And who in the world is going to sit there and write, as you said, 40,000 labels? Not happening.
Yeah. I had.
Yeah. We literally, I'm sitting in my office right here, seeing that tag printer. So I'm super excited to set that up.
Oh my gosh. It's amazing. Yeah. I use recycled plastic for my pots and my flats, and they are recyclable. I even buy the bubble wrap that's made out of recycled plastic. It's recyclable. And then the rest is all cardboard. I try so hard to be as sustainable as possible. But when it comes to the plant tags, I am not compromising. I mean, you could probably recycle those too. I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's one of those things. You've got to look at the key points in your business, which are going to make or break, and you've got to do what works. And then, as you said, you're going to try other recycled things, do the best you can.
Yeah.
So, do you believe that now is the best time to be starting a farm?
Oh, I think it's an amazing time to start a farm. The demand is up. There's so many people are looking for locally produced. I mean, look at the supermarkets. The shelves are never full anymore, and they haven't been for 2 years. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. Local production is gaining in popularity tremendously. Oh, the farmers markets around here last year were the busiest they've ever been.
Yeah.
I think it's an amazing time to start a farm. People are aware and people are looking for your product.
Yeah.
Just get it out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And if people can find out more about you, they can go to lazyoxfarm.com. Is that how they can find that out?
Yeah. And also my Facebook page, although I'm not that active on it right now, Lazy Ox Farm Facebook page.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, Margie, thank you so much for your time today. This has been a fascinating conversation. Really excited to learn.
If I've inspired anyone, I'm so happy. And shipping the plants, it could work in concert with producing produce too. Because like I said, I'm done at the end of May. Yeah. You have your whole summer and fall after that.
Yeah.
But it's a great early season jolt of money.
Yes.
that all farmers need.
Yes. Yeah. Well, you have a great rest of your day.
All right. You too. Thanks.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Thriving Farmers, have you checked us out on YouTube lately? We have a bunch of new content there, including a few rants by me. I want to tell you, you don't want to miss them. I actually go rant about, some of the problems I see in our space and some of the challenges I see farmers facing. So go check that out. We've got instructional videos over there as well. Talk about setting up our new farm here in Ohio and all the steps we're going to do that, as well as just tutorials and tips on best practices for all sorts of things on the farm. So go ahead, check over at Growing Farmers on YouTube and see the new content we put together for you. So there you have it, another episode in the books. So I'd love if you would hop on over to iTunes and leave us a rating and a review. Those mean everything to us. We love to hear what you're thinking. If you have a podcast guest that you can recommend, please pop on over to the Thriving Farmer Podcast website and leave us a review. That's thrivingfarmerpodcast.com.